Today, we are diving into a topic that, honestly, affects pretty much everyone: safety at work. But we're going to look at it from a really specific angle, through the world of contracts and legal duties. See, it's not just about wearing a hard hat or seeing a warning sign. It's a whole web of responsibilities, and we're going to untangle it together.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all. When you walk into your workplace, and it doesn't matter if you're an employee, a contractor, or just visiting, who is actually on the hook for your safety? Is it your boss? The person who owns the building? Is it you? The answer, as you're about to find out, has a lot of layers.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundation, which is all about contracts and safety. Then, we're going to think about responsibility, like these expanding circles. First, that core duty to employees, and then the duty to everyone else. And finally, we'll look at what the gold standard for all of this looks like. Okay, first up, the bedrock, the place where contracts and safety meet. Believe it or not, it all starts with the agreements made way before anyone even sets foot on the property.
You know, when you hear contract management, you're probably thinking about money, deadlines, that kind of thing. But a huge part of it is making sure that every single agreement, from hiring someone to bringing in a plumber, clearly spells out and meets all the legal and safety rules. It's basically the blueprint for a safe operation. If safety isn't baked into the contracts from the very beginning, you're building on a really shaky foundation.
So, let's zoom into that first, most direct circle of responsibility. This is the one most of us know best: the duty a company owes to its own team. An employer's legal duties are, well, they're a pretty big deal. It isn't just one thing, it's the whole package. It covers everything from making sure your actual workspace and the tools you use are safe, to giving you the right training. It even means making sure you can get into and out of the building safely. It's the core promise, right? You work for us, and we are responsible for your well-being while you do. Okay, so employers have a really clear duty to their own people. Got it. But what about everyone else? The delivery driver, the client who's in for a meeting, the freelancer fixing the Wi-Fi. It's time to expand our circle.
Now, this distinction is absolutely crucial. The duty to an employee is direct, it's personal. But the duty to non-employees is all about your operations. The big idea here is that your business activities can't create a hazard for anybody else. It's not your job to manage their work, but it is your job to make sure your work doesn't put them in danger. Think about a slippery, wet floor or a loose wire. Those things are a risk to absolutely everyone.
And here's where another interesting layer comes in. Someone is always the designated occupier of a workplace. That's basically the person or the company that has control over the physical building. Well, that occupier has a very specific duty to make sure the building itself is safe for any visitor who's there legally. So even if a company is just renting one floor, they still have that occupier's duty to keep their space safe for visitors.
We've talked about all these different duties, these different layers of responsibility. So how on earth does an organization manage all of it and, prove they're actually doing it right? That's where we get to the gold standard.
To show they are taking all this seriously, organizations don't just wing it. They rely on formal systems and certifications. This is how they turn all those abstract legal duties we've been talking about into a real, concrete safety program.
This is where standards like OSHA's 1801 and its Malaysian equivalent, MS 1722, come into play. The best way to think about it is like an official playbook. It gives a company a whole framework for spotting hazards, figuring out risks, and putting controls in place to manage them. It's not just some certificate to hang on the wall, it's a commitment to a constant cycle of planning, doing, checking, and improving safety. It makes all those legal duties we discussed part of a living, breathing process. So, if we boil this all down, this is really the main thing to remember. Real workplace safety isn't about ticking off boxes on a checklist. It's about understanding that from the person at their desk to the guest in the lobby, everyone is inside this circle of care. A circle of responsibility that starts long before the workday even begins, right there in the fine print of a contract. And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. A contract can lay down the law, and a system can give you the framework. But what's the real difference between a workplace that's safe on paper and one that's safe in reality? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.